I tell you what's the important factor. If you cannot be flexible on your programming ideals as a music director, in America you eventually will get into trouble, I think. Because the thing that we talked about earlier, that the finances of an orchestra in America is so much more dependent on individuals, that means that the economic fate of an orchestra fluctuates much more in America. And you have to be able to respond to that. If you're chairman of the board and the CEO come to you and say, you know, your predecessor through a number of years has really lost the audience, was too esoteric or too modern or whatever it is.
Too much Dvorak, for example.
Or Bruckner.
Right.
That can happen.
Yeah.
If you don't hit the nerve of your audience, you can lose audience with programming. I don't want to call it bad programming, because in a different city it might be wonderful programming. It just has to fit the need of your audience and the temperature of the community at the time.
Do you have a philosophy about programming that's independent of that?
I have my preferences. Okay. I have what I like, and certainly.
But it's not just a question of repertoire; it's how you put the programs together too. I mean, do you?
Yeah, my philosophy is this, and that's the same in America and in Europe. First and foremost, I mean, of course, we're talking about now programming through several seasons, not only like a guest concert, but when you're music director. First, build trust. Build trust with your audience by making sure that what you do in your first couple of years is really good. That everything the audience hears in the first season or first 2 or 3 seasons of a new music director is so first rate that they come to believe every time so-and-so's on the podium, its quality is impeccable. Then introduce what's dear to you, whether that is 20th century or 21st century music or Dvorak or Bruckner, or whatever it is, carefully, slowly, and again, make sure that when you make your first choices, they are incredible and they're really good. I remember when I did my first Schoenberg here in Milwaukee, we put it in a program. It was The Survivor from Warsaw, which is in itself a great and dramatic piece. We played it, and then I wrote a little clarinet cadenza, like a klezmer solo, that would lead into the first note of the Barber Adagio, which I think was good because it gave people a chance to digest the very intense 10 minutes of Schoenberg. And then when that was over, we played the Survivor from Warsaw again, second time in a slightly dramatized version. And people had a very strong reaction to that. I think I've never got more letters, except when I played accordion, on anything than this program juxtaposition. And what it did, it started building trust.
Yeah.
After that, I think the next thing we did, which was unusual in 20th century, was this weird Zimmermann cantata with 2 narrators. I turned and saw all the injustice under the sun. I built up trust with the audience. So after a while, they would say, well, we don't know the composer that we read there in the program book, but when Delfs is conducting, it's going to be a good performance, and he won't let us down. It will not be a bore. And that kind of sums up my philosophy about programming. I want to do what I love the best, but I want people to come and enjoy it. And in order to do that, I might have to spend a season or 2 to dance around audiences' needs and very popular things, so that they do come and understand who I am, what my collaboration with the orchestra is like, and that when I put something unusual or different on the program, that they can trust it's going to be good.
I remember the accordion was a big hit in Milwaukee, which is actually kind of the accordion capital of the United States.
Which I didn't know, and it was so innocent. I wanted to do...
Oh, that's funny.
I'm a great Kurt Weill fan, as you know, so I wanted to do the first Kurt Weill that I do here in Milwaukee, the Suite from the Three Penny Opera, which, by the way, Otto Klemperer arranged and commissioned. And it's always, you have to pay a lot of extras. There's a banjo in it and this and that.
A lot of odd instruments.
And I remember the personnel manager saying, oh God, it's costing us so much extra. And so I said, you know, the accordion only plays in one number, and I have an accordion, so I do that myself.
The other thing about programming, of course, and I don't know that it's something that conductors talk to orchestras about, but presumably there's an element of building the orchestra too.
Certainly. And
is that a question of just challenging them progressively, or figuring out what they do well or maybe don't do well?
Yeah, the latter, I would say. Again, this is something that I very much learned from Mazel, who took over the Pittsburgh Symphony. They were always a great orchestra. But after 2 years of no music director and the kind of abrupt departure of Previn, which was a downer morally for the orchestra, they were not in great shape.
Right.
And how he got them within 1.5 season into which I really thought at the time was the best American orchestra. When they played a Stravinsky or a big Strauss tone poem, they were incredible, and they still are. But I saw him do that, and it reminded me like a Swiss watchmaker, you know, who knows exactly where to put a drop of oil and where to use his fine instrument. There's this famous story of an incredibly difficult machine breaks, and only one specialist in the world can fix it. And he comes, and he has this little hammer. He looks at the machine and goes, machine is fixed. And then he sends his bill, and it's outrageous, and it's $9,500. And the owner of the machine says, for that little bit, $9,500? And the guy says, I sent you a specified bill. And what comes back is a bill that says, tapping the machine with hammer, $50. Knowing where to tap, $9,450. And that is pretty much summing up what a good conductor and a great music director does. Knowing where to tap. And to find out where the orchestra that you conduct needs a little help consistently. You remember that when I started out here, we played quite a bit of Haydn and Mozart.
Yes. Because
I thought the motor, the Alberti...
It didn't come naturally to us now.
No, it needed a little help in going... And it has improved incredibly. And when we play Mozart now, we just did a Mozart festival, and it was such a joy.
Yeah.
Because we fixed that.
Yeah. It was.
And progressively, too, I think an orchestra needs to see regularly the pieces that are really challenging for you. Mahler symphonies, big Stravinsky pieces. I think by now I know which are the pieces that gets the musicians to unpack their instruments a little bit early and prepare.
Yeah.
And I found out it's a great way. For example, when we started, I thought, oh, orchestra has a relatively big summer break, so let's start easy. It was not a good idea.
No.
After we started to do Richard Strauss in the first season
Right.
concert,
Yep.
I thought we started on a much higher level, because
Yep.
that's the kind of stuff that makes you,
Yep.
Let's warm up. So
Yeah.
it's a combination of these things, but I think the most important thing is the little knowing where to tap your hammer.
Interesting. I wanted to ask you, from your perspective of having been or watched music directors in the U.S. for 20, 25 years now, and knowing that a number of orchestras are actually looking for music directors, and I think they're all struggling with what a music director should be, and what the image should be, what will work for them. And obviously, it's different in different situations, but do you think there's been any systemic change in how the role is viewed, or the kinds of people that orchestras should be looking at? Or is it just that too general? Is the field too diverse to...
No, it's not. It is a good music director. We don't talk about conductor now, we talk about music director. Has to have a good number of qualities, some musical and some not musical. And what I often find problematic is each given orchestra in their given community at their given time in history needs a specific arrangement of those qualities. Good music director has to be a very good conductor. But even within conducting, there are different qualities. There's the conductor who is incredibly with the stick, but maybe musically a little bit boring. There is the inspiring musical storyteller who is not good with meter changes. Now, depending on where that orchestra stands at the time in its development, also in its relationship with the audience, a couple of years with an inspiring great musician who's not so good with the stick can be the right thing at the time. And you will have those musicians and board members who will kvetch about this period because they say, yeah, but his downbeats are always unclear. Vice versa, you can have a wonderfully inspiring musical orchestra that is just not playing precisely. And a couple of years with somebody who is a little dry might be the right thing. And this is only the conducting aspect of it. If you add to that